Today I wanted to share with you the history of an ocean liner that outlived the country it was built in, the Alexander Pushkin. So the Alexander Pushkin was built in the former country of East Germany. She was the second in a class of vessels named after famous Russian poets. All of these ships also doubled as torpedo ships, which is a pretty cool fun fact if you didn't know. The ship was built with a greater hull strength so that she could withstand small ice impacts, which is something that a ship needs when it's sailing out of Russia. The ship started off incredibly unpopular when it entered service back in 1965. And when I say unpopular, I mean unpopular. Her first transatlantic crossing only reportedly carried 36 passengers. This led her owners to refit and remodel her in two separate stages. In the first stage, her cargo facilities were eliminated and her forward superstructure was extended, which allowed for additional public spaces. Stabilizers were also installed in this stage. Her second refit added berths for all passengers as well as a disco. The addition of a disco was incredibly noteworthy because she was the first USSR flagged ship to have one. Now by 1980, the Alexander Pushkin was one of only 3 ocean liners still regularly crossing the Atlantic, although this conflicts with other reports that she was serving as a Soviet warship at this time. Regardless of what she was doing, the Alexander Pushkin was nearing the end of her life. She went through a few other owners until she was laid up in 1990. At this time, it was the death of the Alexander Pushkin. She was only 25 years old, which is a very young life for an ocean liner. But ultimately her purpose that she was built for just faded out. The death of the Alexander Pushkin wasn't really a bad thing, however, as it brought with it the birth of a new ship, the Marco Polo.
Facelifts to improve her looks and extend her life. The latest makeover in 1991 removed the pool solarium to create a series of open terraces with a new top deck behind a reworked smokestack. 100 rooms were added to the middle and stern. 2 years and $60 million later, the ship was reborn as the sleeker ocean liner Marco Polo.
Throughout her rebuilding and remodeling, virtually the entire ship was changed. This included the area around her stern, as the superstructure of the ship was extended back to add more room for passengers, lounges, and other things. The ship also received new engines and new stabilizers, which meant the cost of her refit was anywhere between $30 million to $60 million US. The refit was well worth it though, as the Marco Polo became an incredibly popular cruise ship. Her new owners, the Orient Line, sailed the ship to places that the bigger ships just couldn't get to, like Southern Africa, Southeast Asia, and Antarctica. The ship would continue to sail with the Orient Line until they were bought by Norwegian Cruise Line in 1998. This didn't affect the ship, however, as she continued sailing as though nothing had changed. In 2000, a ship named the Crown Odyssey would join the Marco Polo, but the Crown Odyssey would be sold in 2003, so yeah. In 2005, the Marco Polo would become the very last ship of the Ivan Franko class. It was around this time that she also became one of the last remaining ocean liners still in service. She would continue to sail with the Orient Line until 2007, when Norwegian Cruise Lines made the decision to sell her, which indirectly killed the Orient Line. For the next 3 years, the only notable thing that happened on her was a tragic death by a passenger having a heart attack. Let's cut away from some rather sad news to something more lighthearted, the interiors of the Marco Polo. Now, some of the photos you see on screen now are from after she was remodeled by Cruise and Maritime Voyages. But that really doesn't matter. What does matter is the look of the inside of this ship is absolutely beautiful. In fact, one of the most beautiful ship interiors I've ever seen. You can definitely tell the Marco Polo was a former ocean liner. Everything looks beautiful, elegant, and dignified. Probably my favorite spot to look at on this ship is her pool deck. Something about it just looks absolutely stunning to me. In 2010, the Marco Polo was purchased by Cruise and Maritime Voyages. By the way, if you want a deeper look into Cruise and Maritime Voyages, I suggest you look at my most recent The History of video. It's all about CMV, and I'll link it in the description. Getting back to the Marco Polo, she almost overnight became the flagship of Cruise and Maritime Voyages. She would sail with the company for almost a decade, and in this time she would become even more popular than ever. In 2013, the ship would go into its dry dock after she struck something on a voyage called the Northern Lights Cruises. It was in this dry dock where the ship would be remodeled and refurbished, making her look brand new even though she was approaching 50 years old. It was also in this time where she became the focus of a TV show titled Mighty Cruise Ship, which opened a lot of people's eyes to the ship. Sadly, on a voyage in 2014, the ship hit a rogue wave and 16 people were injured and one person was unfortunately killed. There's a news article and video talking about this, which I'll put up on screen in just a second. This was a dark spot on an otherwise bright tenure with CMV, and thankfully this would be the only dark spot on her tenure, as for the next 6 years, the ship would continue service.
Overnight tragedy hitting the high seas when a massive wave crashed into a British cruise ship, killing a man on board. The 288-foot Marco Polo was on its way home to the UK from a 42-day trip when it was struck by a wave while passing through the English Channel. Rushing water shattered a window on board, injuring several of the ship's 735 passengers. 2 had to be airlifted off the ship to nearby hospitals, where one, an 85-year-old man, was later pronounced dead.
Unfortunately, as a result of COVID-19, in 2020 cruise and maritime voyages went into administration, which is similar to bankruptcy. As a result of this, Marco Polo was left with an uncertain future. A lot of people believed a rumor that the ship would become a hotel in the Middle East. Sadly, this never happened, and in early 2021, the Marco Polo was beached in Alang, India for scrapping. As of today, work still hasn't started on dismantling her, but it looks as though it could start any day now. The ship served a long life, as she started off as the Alexander Pushkin, before she was given a new life as the Marco Polo. Unfortunately, though, COVID-19 would mean the death of one of the last remaining ocean liners. I feel as if COVID-19 never happened, the ship might have had a shot at becoming a hotel ship a couple years from now. Sadly, that will just remain an alternate history question. I never sailed on the Marco Polo or the Alexander Pushkin, obviously, but I want to know if any of you did. Let me know in the comments, and consider subscribing while you're down there. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video, the history of the Carnival. See you guys next time, and peace out.